seconds, and he'll be right on top of you before you know it. So the time you take now can save valuable seconds and potentially your life. Well,
I guess it's over. So, you know, what I've done is I've brought a go bag or a preparedness kit for y'all to check out. It's on that back table over there in the corner. And it just provides some good examples of things that you can grab and just easily go, right? So obviously these are items that you're going to need if you're going to stay the night somewhere else. So think through this process. You're not going to be able, you don't know if you're going to be able to get back into your house and retrieve, you know, important documents, medication, dog food, or cat food, whatever animal you might have. Those are pieces of information that you need to have on you, because when first responders do come to assist you, that's the information that they're going to need, right? So driver's license, we all typically have that on us, but maybe not our birth certificate or our wedding license or a passport. You know, if you have to reapply for your birth certificate, you need 2 forms of ID. So just keep that in mind and kind of walk through this. You're not going to have to build this miraculous tub full of, you know, everything you might need. You just need, think of it as the overnight stuff that you're going to need for up to, let's say, 5 nights, right? And this should include drinking water. The drinking water example that I have back there are emergency waters, and you can only drink them after, I believe, 24 hours of no water. So they're, I think they've got a huge boost of electrolytes in them, and that's why. There's also an MRE over there. Does anyone know what those are? Oh man, they're awful. They're awful. So I suggest doing granola bars or roll-ups if you have kids. Try and get a little experimental with it. Don't put fresh fruit in there, because you're going to have to be replacing everything in your bag every couple of days. And you can keep these bags wherever it's convenient for you. So I personally have one in my vehicle just because of my job. I also have one at work and one at home, and then my dog has one. So if you have any questions about it, I did leave my business cards out front, and you can call me with anything you might need. I know you don't really think about this, but the dog, you're going to need portable water bowl, some food for them, you know, some bottles of water. I don't know if they can drink that emergency water or not. Okay, so does anyone have any questions on what really goes into those kits? Okay. All right. So how much stuff do you really need, right? I had mentioned 5 days if you're staying overnight. As far as food and water goes, it's recommended by FEMA that you do 72 hours worth of that stuff. You know, like I said, these kits, they can get pretty big. So start small, and just start with the basics that you need, because it can get overwhelming. YouTube is a great resource. That's where I found all these videos. And I hope that you go on there and kind of educate yourself and empower yourself with being prepared for disasters. You know, I've gotten through all my material here, and you know, the biggest thing that I want you to retain from this class is that you need to be proactive about this. And this was your first step, right? Being educated on how to move forward with these steps. I think that it's really disaster preparedness. Like I said earlier, if you truly think about it, it's common sense when you're in the present day. But you could be like me and have to evacuate for a wildfire and just grab a drawer of socks. You know, literally, that's what I grabbed. And I've been doing this for 7 years. You know, I know better. So if you prepare for disasters, you already know what you're going to grab, and it's already going to be there. If you have family or loved ones that you're concerned about during disasters, set a meetup place, right? You should have a meetup place inside the city, inside the county, and if you have to, outside the state that you can get to. Although having to evacuate the state is not most likely. You know, if we were in Louisiana, it might be a possibility. So, does anyone have, you know, any big questions for me? I have treats for questions.
My question is involving a more serious disaster. For example, if our power grid was attacked by one of our enemies and brought the whole grid down, do you know if the EPCOR or whoever provides our water, will the water still flow without the power being up, or do you know?
You know, I couldn't answer that question because I don't know how that's set up, but there is, we do have an agency called ACTIC here in the metro area, and they are solely responsible for monitoring suspicious behavior. And so, you know, my faith is in them. I would hope that they could detect something. You're talking more along the lines of like a cyber attack.
I am. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is, you know, that is something that we are more and more concerned with every year here in our world because it could happen, and it has happened. I really, you know, do the best to protect your information. You know, don't take pictures of your credit card and send it via text. Don't, you know, don't do those kind of things to put yourself at risk. And that's what I would suggest doing. It's just protecting yourself. So, these are their little safety kits. They're grab and go safety kits. So they've got a light stick, bandages, and things like that.
Thank you.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
nice.
Yes, sir.
What do you recommend for water? You say we should have at least 2 or 3 days of water.
Yeah, let me grab this example for you. They're really odd. Back in World War II, they had it in cans, and Budweiser actually made it. Nice. But got a long shelf life. That's what it looks like. I know, isn't it great? Budweiser made it. So I would not.
The answer is no.
Don't crack them open and try them because I don't know how old they are.
Okay.
I'm sorry, guys, I'm skipping you. So, does that help and answer your question?
No, we have an answer.
How much water?
How much water? How much is going 2 or 3 days of water?
So it's a gallon a day for river. And that does not include, you know, water to like brush your teeth. That's just consumable water. So, you know, yeah, don't drink it. Don't drink it. I would, you know, there's one thing that I carry is wet wipes, right? So if I'm stranded for 3 days, most likely I'm not going to have access to a shower. So I'm not going to really need soap. You know, I'm going to need wet wipes. And so that's what I put in my kit. Is that it?
You said that the water had electrolytes in it, and I think somewhere that said something about sodium, but what about just something like smart water?
You know what? That can work. It just does not retain its life as long as these guys.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, you may only have to check on these like once every 2 years.
Oh.
Once you purchase them, the smart water you need to check on it like
Okay.
I'd say every 6 months.
Yeah.
Depending on, you know, where it's located.
Yeah.
If you've got it in the hot garage,
Yeah.
that I would check on it. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question on the back. It said, don't drink it. You said within 12 hours. Is that what you said?
I'm sorry, I missed the first
You
one.
said, don't drink it for the first 12 hours. And then on the back of that, I just read, it said, unless you're sick or in desert conditions. So for
Okay.
us, how many hours would that be?
You know, each brand is different. So go with what the label says. When I was in Texas, it was 24 hours without water.
Well, that says 12. and
But-
that's
but it was
true
a
in
different
in the desert. We're in
brand.
the desert, so my question to you is, how would we alter that?
If you're not buying one with instructions, I would just think about it in terms of the season. So if you're in the winter, you may not need as much water as when you're in the summer. So instead, you know, do 2 gallons of water per person per day. That's how I would approach it. Go off what you personally feel you need. It's the best. All right, I have one more. Okay, pressure's on.
Would you explain the iodine pills, the iodine, et cetera, and I understand the bleach for,
Yes. Okay, so in the event that there's a release of radiation from Palo Verde Nuclear Generating Station, which is located more than 50 miles away from here, the Maricopa County, ARA, and a bunch of other agencies are going to get together and issue a warning. So for those of you that don't know, there are sirens located just outside the plant that notify those that live next to it of when that event happens. We've not had one here in the state. We've been very fortunate. So if that does occur, there will be what they call a reception and care center that is stood up. And that center, those that are in the immediate area, so the first area is 10 miles all the way around the plant. The second area is 50 miles all the way around the plant. Because you are outside of the 50-mile radius, I would not be, you know, unless the wind is blowing, I would say 70 miles an hour, you are most likely not going to be exposed. If you are exposed, say you're driving down the 10 and there's a release, and you hear the sirens and you react, go to the reception and care center, and that will be issued over the radio or through the sends or through code red, and you will be taken through a process which is called decon and decontamination, and they will give you 2 little pills if you're an adult, 1 if you're a child, and it's potassium iodine. That's what that is. And what it does is it blocks the thyroid from absorbing the radiation in your body. I'm told they're awful, but we use M&Ms in our exercises.
yeah.
So, did you have a question, Miss?
It was the same.
It was the same. Okay. So, if you choose to do more presentations, we can go into, you know, other disasters that are local to the metropolitan area. Today, we just wanted to focus on what was local to Paradise Valley. So.
I know here in Paradise Valley, our cell phone coverage is not very good, especially, you know, when we don't have enough power. What would be your recommendation?
I would get a battery-powered or wind-up radio. So I also have, excuse me, one of those back here, where you see this one. I believe is battery-powered. It's an AM, no, it's a wind-up. This one's a fun one, right? So you sit there and you crank it, and listen. So, you know, in the event that you're going to have to use one of these, most likely any radio station that you tune into is going to have information for you. And if not, you know, if your cell phones aren't working, I will probably, you could probably get internet still. Is that accurate? Okay. So use other outlets. Go old school. Get the radio out and listen to it. Talk to your neighbors. Find out what they know. That kind of thing. You know, and in worst case scenarios, the police department is going to be quiet. Worst case scenarios, they'll be issuing their. Yeah. Yep. Listen to your radio in your car. Oh goodness, I don't know. Amazon? I don't know. Harbor Freight. There you go, Harbor Freight. I'm sure there's someone at Home Depot that can help you out with that.
Generally, what they do is just power certain appliances. In order to have a generator that's gonna power your whole
thank you all for coming tonight and giving me your dinner hour. It's pretty great. Let us